It's great to be with you. It's great to be kicking off this conference Vitalis. So as we're doing that, I want to start out by offering a theme perhaps for your consideration. And it goes like this. Advancements in health and medicine have always been a journey of new discoveries. So operative is new. So new means we're doing things we've never done before. New means we're in learning mode. New also means that at times we are going to make ourselves uncomfortable as we move towards the way we think now and the way we think and work in the future. Such is the case with the introduction of AI. I'm going to start by taking us 170 years back in time, but I promise we'll end by going 20 years ahead of where we are today. So it's 1854. London is experiencing a huge outbreak of cholera. Its epicenter is in a neighborhood called Broad Street. So at the time, in the first 3 days, 127 people died in that neighborhood. Shortly thereafter, 500 people died in 1 day. So at the time, the prevailing medical thought among the medical leaders was that cholera was caused by bad air. Now enter a young upstart physician by the name of John Snow. John actually lived in the Broad Street neighborhood. John didn't think it was bad air. John thought it was polluted drinking water in the Broad Street well. So he set out to prove his theory. This is actually his map with a few things I laid over it. So the first thing he did is he started by plotting the location of where each victim lived that died of cholera. He then took the map and placed the location of all of the pumps where everyone went to get their water. And what you can quickly see with this is the Broad Street pump was at the center of most deaths. So he took his data, he took his theory, he went to the London Medical Society, which was driving the management of cholera, and he presented it. And the response was, he was laughed at. They scoffed. Who is this young upstart physician to be telling them that it was something different other than bad air? So his detractors basically pointed out that there were victims that lived closer to other pumps, and therefore the Broad Street theory just wasn't working. Enter the Reverend Henry Whitehead. This was the head of a church where he knew the comings and goings of the people in the neighborhood. So Dr. Snow and Henry collaborated, and what he learned is that the majority of people inside that circle who had children, they all went to the school on Broad Street. So how many of you have kids living at home, and like as you're taking them to and from school, what do? You gang your errands. You get efficient in how you run your life. People of this time were doing the same thing. So as they took their kids to and from school, they would get their water from the Broad Street pump. So armed with this information, armed with the work John Snow had done, they eventually removed the handle on the pump, and guess what? The outbreak subsided. So to me, this is a great story at several levels. One, it's a great story of early epidemiology, a data-driven discipline. Two, it's a great example of an early data estate, which we've already been talking about when it comes to gathering data, great visualizations. The Reverend Whitehead contributed a great example of social determinants of health being factored into a health issue. So all of those are great. But frankly, we would not be telling this story today if not for a critical factor, and that is, when it comes to innovation, those who are true innovators are willing and able to think differently. Healthcare is a very noble cause. It has many, many challenges, and I believe that we cannot and will not solve those challenges by using the same way of thinking and acting today. So this is where AI comes in. Related to that is another factor that I want you to consider, which is the moment that medicine came out of the dark space and into the light of being a scientific discipline, everything we've done has always been the quest for more information to make better decisions. So think about that for a moment. Going way back in time, things like we came up with cell theory, and then we had the microscope, then we had the stethoscope. Then once Röntgen discovered X-rays for decades, we had flat images of the inside of the body. And then we improved that with CTs and MR. We cracked the genetic code. Everything we've done is in service of more information to make better decisions. Well, guess what? We've reached a point where we've gotten so good at that that we now have another problem. The capacity of our human brains to take it all in, manage it, is becoming challenged. Or, as one of my favorites, Marv Minsky from the MIT AI laboratory said, it's ridiculous to live 100 years and only be able to remember 30 million bytes. You know, less than a compact disk. A newly minted physician in 1950 would go their entire career before medical knowledge doubled. Today, medical knowledge is doubling every 72 days. So think about that. How does that work? You're the best trained physician coming out of the best residency, top of your class, and a couple months from now, there'll be twice the amount of information to know and manage. This is where, again, the promise of AI comes in. How do we take that and help gather and tame the massive amounts of data we have today? I'm going to very quickly give you 3 things that if you do, it will help you gain AI superpowers. Number 2, understand what AI is good at and what it's not. And here's where, if you understand this, you will learn how to use AI that actually creates value at scale. So everything on the left is what AI is really good at, better than humans. Everything on the right, at this point in time, humans are uniquely qualified to be doing. So the idea and the value proposition on AI is how do we take everything on the left and bring it in behind all of you who are clinicians and knowledge workers to make you better at something you care about. Commit to using AI responsibly. Unfortunately, a lot of the biases and inequities in the real world are crossing over to the digital world in the form of things like algorithms and bias. We have the ability, we have the tools, we have the resources to not only mitigate that, but actually use the digital world to be reducing those biases from the real world and making healthcare more fair, more equitable. The biggest number one thing that starts with is awareness, and awareness with people like you. When I think about where we are and where we're going, I think the challenge is not necessarily the technology, but right now it's the velocity of change AI is driving, especially in health and medicine. Our progression with AI is continuing. It's going faster. Our ability as leaders in health and medicine come down to taking what's happening, understanding not necessarily how it works, but what it can do, and then you are the smartest people to take those capabilities and say, how do I apply those to make what I do better, safer, more effective, more cost-effective?